Stephen Ellis, our daily Faceoff prospect analyst, joins us. We're digging into the latest draft rankings. We're up now at dailyfaceoff.com. Stephen, and my favorite question to ask you, especially as we get to your final rankings here, and we are a month away from the NHL draft at the Sphere in Las Vegas. But who's rocketing up the board, Mr. Ellis? Who's your biggest riser?
Well, mine for sure is Stian Solberg out of Norway, and watching him play at the World Championship kind of really solidified that for me. The big thing for me, like I have him at number 21. I had him outside of the first round pretty much the entire season, and for a big portion, it was outside of the second round, actually. And the big reason why for that was, as good as he was defensively, he's not much of an offensive defenseman, and he is prone to be taking some dumb penalties. But just kind of watching him mature, not only in the last couple months of the pro season in Norway, but then also watching him at the World Championship, you just saw a guy that defensively looks NHL ready already. And this is a good defensive group. We're talking so many great talents that are going to be going early in this draft. But from a pure defensive standpoint, watching him play 24 minutes a night at the World Championship is no small feat. Norway really kind of relied on their older guys at that tournament to take a lot of the opportunities up front. But on defense, they just didn't have many guys who could take over. And the minute they put Solberg in that role, just showed a guy that was mature, smart. Again, outside of those penalties that are like, some stupid tripping or maybe some cross-checking penalties, if you can remove that from the game, he's about as complete of a defensive defenseman as you're going to get. And he's got a great shot too. It's just kind of leveraging that and using that more to his advantage.
All right, so the inverse of that, Stephen, then is who's the guy that's fallen down your board the most?
Yeah, for me, it's Ryerson Linders, and a guy that I think a lot of people look at.
Not Cole Yzerman.
Nope, not Cole Yzerman, because I'm still going high on him. I still really believe in Cole Yzerman. I think that a lot of the defensive issues that people kind of look at there are just, I don't think it's as bad as some people make it seem. And getting to watch him up close person a lot this year really made me think, yeah, I still believe in Yzerman. You're not going to be paying him in the NHL to be a defensive player. You're paying him to score, and he's best prospect in the draft at doing that. But in terms of the guy who really fell down for me was Ryerson Linders, outside of my top 70, which I think earlier in the year, I was thinking this guy could potentially go first round. And I really do think Linders could still really bounce back here. Just that second half of the year where he got outplayed by his goalie partner, Jack Ivankovich, didn't really help. He's not a big goalie, but watching him play at the CHL Top Prospects game and then at the U18s, I know those are just showcase events essentially, but when he had to be good, he was good. It was just consistently doing that I think was difficult. It felt like he couldn't, perform back-to-back games very well. But I think in a year where there's not a ton of great goalies, Linders has unfortunately fallen a little bit.
I want to go a little off script here, and I want to ask you about TJ Ginla. He's number 11 on your board, and he's kind of remained in that same general area for a while now. But you look at some other people and their draft lists, and he's now in the top 5, and he's had a magical season. Why has he remained at 11 for you?
Watching him, again, I'll just use the U18s as an example. Someone there that I had really high hopes for and thought he just had a good, not spectacular tournament. I'm not sure he's a guy that's going to be a first-line player and can kind of take it forward. You see those goals, but he also did that on a team where there were not many other scoring options. He had to be that guy. I don't know if he is that guy in the NHL. I think there's a big argument for it to be made here that he can actually find a ton of value as a middle six player because he puts that full, the full defense or full aggressive play out there. He's not going to go out there and just start killing players, but he's going to be a hard, difficult player to play against. I just don't know if he's the all-around offensive creative player that's going to be able to take that step. When, you look at here, I do have Cole Yzerman one spot forward because, again, you're not going to find a better goal scorer. Look at Constant Helenius. I have him higher. I really do believe in Constant Helenius. I know a lot of people have him outside the top 10. I almost feel like I put him low at 9 because he's just an all-around player that can kind of do a bit of everything. You look at Caden Lidstrom. I think he's a number 1 center with that big size. Berkeley Catton is just so skilled. There's just elements that I think that are going to translate over to the NHL in a more prominent way with those guys than Ginla. I had Iginla going higher in my mock draft because I do see why teams like him. It's just there are guys that I think could just do a bit more at the NHL level in more effective ways on the top line that will make them better players.
It's also a bloodlines thing, right? Like, I mean, we're also seeing, you see this season come together for him. You see the compete. And like the first thing I think of if we're thinking bloodlines is like, why can't he be the next Brady Tkachuk? Is that an unfair ask?
No, it's not. I still think, the physical side of things, he's willing to do it, but I feel like it's almost still not second nature for him. Like watching him play compared to Malcolm Spence at the U18s, where that guy was going out there to kill everybody on the ice and was entertaining to watch. We didn't see kind of that killer instinct out of Iginla because, he is a goal scorer. But my concern is, are you getting, if he's not scoring goals, if you're not putting him on the power play to score goals in the NHL, are you just looking at a guy who's maybe at best a second, third line player? And that is a real threat there because, we did see huge steps in his game, but I almost feel like he's kind of hit the plateau. I don't know how much higher he's going to go in terms of being a better offensive player, but I want to see a bit more nastiness out of there. I want him to be out there and trying to take guys out of the game. Like we saw Brady Tkachuk at the World Championship talking about how he wishes there was fighting there. I want that same energy out of Iginla. I think it's possible, but again, there's just some guys I like more.
So is he the biggest wild card for you in the top 15, or who? Like, meaning he could go anywhere, or you think he's going to end up going somewhere high? And if not, then who is the biggest wild card?
I think it's got to be Cole Yzerman. Because if I'm Montreal, this is maybe a hot take. If I'm Montreal, I'm taking a chance on Cole Yzerman at number 5. I know I'm probably alone on that, but again, you just got that shot there that just you're not going to find guys being able to replicate that. And I think from talking to scouts at the U18s, I don't think they see Cole Yzerman's deficiencies the same way other like more public people are saying, where it's like, oh, look, he doesn't do a whole lot defensively, but it's like. We saw Connor Bedard this year not play a lot of defense. He was still extremely effective. And I'm not comparing, obviously, Cole Yzerman and Connor Bedard, but you can massage a role for a guy like Cole Yzerman to go out there and just say, hey, you know what, your role, we're going to put you on the power play. We're going to just have you stand out there and fire shots. It's going to work out. And, I think that was kind of the thing with Patrick Laine, and then they try to make him do a bit too much over the last couple of years, and it really hasn't been that thing. If you just give that concentrated role of Yzerman, I think he's going to be able to put up 40 goals a year, no problem. But again, it's whether or not the teams want a more well-rounded pick. And for sure, Iginla is the more well-rounded guy. I just like betting on upside. And a guy who could score 50, 60 goals a year, like Cole Yzerman, that's what I'm betting on.
Matt, Stephen, I'm looking at my list here. I have 5 or 6 more questions I'd love to ask you. And the nice part is that we're going to be doing this every week leading up to the draft. So we got a ton to get through over the next 3-4 weeks here leading up to the big night in Vegas. Your new draft rankings is up now, dailyfaceoff.com. We're going to link that bad boy in the YouTube description of today's episode as well. The next wave with Stephen Ellis. Thanks, buddy.
1 month from today.
1 month.
Round 1.
Thanks, guys.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.